Hello, I'm Amy Harbison. Welcome to Seniors Today, a monthly program produced by the Commission on Aging devoted entirely to issues and interests of Montgomery County seniors. This month we talk about the importance of advanced care planning, and we get some tips on healthful senior nutrition. But first, we recognize June as Elder Abuse Awareness Month. My guests today are Kelly Davis, an investigator for the Montgomery County State's Attorney's Office, and Eileen Bennett from Montgomery County's Aging and Disability Services Program. Welcome to you both.
Thank you for having us.
So this June is a big awareness month. Can you help us understand what falls under the umbrella of elder abuse?
Sure, I'll start. I'm from the Health and Human Services Department of the county, and we have a lot of umbrella programs that address elder abuse. So when you are feeling like something is wrong for an older person, the probability is it is under the umbrella of potential elder abuse. So things like somebody not taking care of themselves, that would be a red flag. You might have someone whose bank accounts seem to be drained. They don't have the same kind of money they might have had even 3 or 4 years ago. That might be a red flag, something's going on. Someone's hygiene. You're seeing them out at the grocery store or at the movie theater where you've seen them before, but now they seem disheveled. Maybe there's something happening within their life that you should be asking about. Of course, there are also emergencies where someone has been harmed, and those types of things are handled within Adult Protective Services or other programs, and including the police if there is an emergency.
And when people are calling in with concerns, are these usually the people themselves that it's happened to, or is it a caregiver or a family member that's
So I would say that it can come from anywhere.
It can come from anywhere, but more often than not, it's not the senior or the victim because there's a lot of shame and embarrassment and denial going on. So a lot of times it could be the witness or a doctor or a lawyer or a family member who's concerned.
And so how do you help people that call with these concerns? What are some of the things that you refer them to or help them to understand?
I think the biggest connection is a personal connection. In Health and Human Services, we send people out to talk with someone who might be a potential victim, to put them at ease, to help them understand that we're attempting to figure out what might be going on and causing some issues in their life, and making them feel comfortable about talking about a caregiver that might have come into their home that they're dependent on, but now they're noticing some things are missing, or that they hurt them, or that they're being isolated, they're being kept away from other family members.
Right. What about, I understand financial exploitation may fall under this umbrella. Kelly, can you talk a little bit about what experiences you've learned about?
Yes, that's actually our #1 referral. That's the most often kind of case that we get. I think we're all pretty familiar with the scams and the phone calls and lotteries and things like that, but a lot of cases that I see personally are the caregiver financial exploitation cases, and more often than not it is someone that's trusted to the victim. So we see a lot of caregiver cases where they see a blank checkbook lying around in the home, or they see valuables in the home and they'll steal jewelry or things like that. So we've had a lot of prosecutions that way, and also if someone's your power of attorney, they need to be acting in your best interest. So we see a lot of cases, unfortunately, where the power of attorney is taking the money and using it for their own benefit, and we've been successful in some of those prosecutions as well.
Wow. And what about you talked about the shame issue.
Sure.
If someone is nervous about making a phone call to you all and feels like they don't want to report someone they know, but you're saying oftentimes it could be someone they know that's involved in this, how are they treated, or what should they know so they feel better about the phone call?
Recognizing there is a level of anonymity. So someone who calls in can choose to remain anonymous. It's a little more difficult to work with someone who wants to remain anonymous, but they can. It might be that they report to Adult Protective Services and say, and I don't want anybody else to know who it is that's calling. But we also have to establish some credibility in that there is a relationship. You didn't just pick somebody out on the street corner to say, oh, I'm worried about that person,
Right.
but that you have some inside information about why you might be concerned. In reality, I think that building that relationship is a credible step in what investigators do throughout the entire process.
Wow.
If there is a obvious crime, many times the health and human service worker is alongside a police officer who's responding in order to help people get a little more calm.
Right. Okay.
I think there's also a recognition that there are mandatory reporters in some of the fields that you work in. So if you're going to the doctor and they suspect abuse, they're required to report. If you're going to the dentist and they see something that might be potential bruising or something like that, or malnutrition, they're required to report. So if you are a family member and you're noticing it first,
Right.
It's easier on everybody if you bring it to the forefront to talk about it.
Makes sense.
Instead of it being then getting to the point of a mandatory reporter.
Can you let us know what the hotline number is that people can call and learn more and make those calls and feel like someone will understand them on the other side?
Sure. We do all referrals in HHS for senior services in the Aging and Disabilities Unit at 240-777-3000. And that would get you to anyone in the aging programs.
Okay. And what about for you, Kelly? What's a number that people can call if they need to reach your state attorney's office?
So our main line is 240-777-7300, and say you have a concern with elder abuse, they'll most likely send you directly to me or someone in my unit, and then we can help you and point you in the right direction.
Tell me what elevates something to your office? How do you get involved?
Sure. So with the state's attorney's office, we investigate physical abuse, neglect, sexual abuse, and financial exploitation. So those are the 4 types of crimes that we investigate. So whenever we get a referral from someone, we either investigate it ourselves or we refer it to the police department or the fraud unit or to adult protective services. And it really is a case-by-case basis, but for financial exploitation, for example, anytime that someone is using your funds without your permission or authorization, we would look into that, start the subpoena process, get the records, improve the case that way. And then for neglect, if someone's not taking care of your basic needs, we'll look into those cases as well. And then abuse, if you see marks or you have medical records or a witness, we get lots of calls about that as well.
That's great. So it's an important topic. It sounds like it's something that people really need to be paying more attention to and aware that there are really good resources within the county to use and to get people on the other end of the phone that will understand them and will make it an easier process for them since it's anonymous.
Right. And we also do lots of outreach. So if anyone ever wants us to come out to their senior facility or a library or a place of worship, we do a lot of outreach. We can talk about pretty much whatever you want. We have lots of handouts and tips. So
that's great. Well, Eileen and Kelly, thank you so much for joining us today. And it's an important topic. We'll be following more about it. Thank you so much. When we come back, we talk about the importance of advanced care planning. We'll be right back.
Did you know there are more than 10,000 county government phone numbers? But there's only one number you need to remember for non-emergency calls, 311. MC311 is Montgomery County government's online telephone information system. Need information? Have a problem or complaint? Trying to locate a county government facility? Call 311. The call center is open Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. The website is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
In Montgomery County, we have a goal to reduce waste and recycle 70% of all waste by 2020. By recycling and reducing waste, we save natural resources and make our community even better. So recycle at home, work, school, everywhere, and keep recycling going. For more information, call the Montgomery County, Maryland Division of Solid Waste Services at 311 or visit montgomerycountymd.gov/recycling.
Keep it going.
Recycle more now.
Visit aarp.org/caregiving for information on how to provide even better care for the person who once took care of you.
Welcome back to Seniors Today. At any age, a medical crisis could leave you too ill to make your own health care decisions. Advanced Care Planning offers the gift of peace of mind for you and your loved ones when critical decisions must be made and you can't speak for yourself. Here to talk about why every adult should have the conversation is Advanced Care Planning expert Jane Markley. Hi, Jane. How are you?
Thank you, Amy, appreciate being here today. It's a very important subject.
It is a really important subject, and it's not a subject that many people know about. So can you tell me what advanced directive planning is all about?
I sure can. Many people don't know about it, but those who do know about it are afraid to do this kind of thing, and it's extremely important. Advanced care planning allows you to identify the things that are important to you, your basic beliefs, values, and preferences for care, should you not be able to speak for yourself. And then it speaks to the fact of who would you like to speak for you if you could no longer speak for yourself? Who would need to be called if you ended up in the emergency room after having a crisis? And finally, the third part is the documentation of both of those pieces of the puzzle, what you want and who the person is who can speak for you when you can no longer speak for yourself.
And what are some of the documents that are needed for this process?
You need a living will and a durable power of attorney for health care. The living will is your preferences, and the durable power of attorney for health care is the identification of the individual to speak for you. So both of those are important pieces of the puzzle. If you have nothing else, that durable power of attorney for health care is a legal document that is important to have in place while you're alive, while you're feeling well, while you're healthy. It's talking about it at that point in time is extremely important because there isn't a crisis going on.
Right.
But it's available then when the crisis does occur.
So you talk about the conversation. What exactly is the conversation, and who should be part of that conversation?
Well, the conversation is multifaceted. First, it's you thinking about what's important to you and having a conversation with yourself about what it is you really would want at some point along the way. And then once you've had that conversation, you start to share it with other people. Because you'll also be thinking about these things and learning about different parts of what kind of care you might get and how you would want to be treated.
Right. And it sounds like this is not a conversation or even a process that should be limited to end of life, and yet that's what we think of when we think of this work.
It's definitely not just end of life. I deal with millennials, I deal with youngsters in the 18 to 20-year-old group who are going off to university. And they go off and something occurs while they're there and the parents can't get into their health records. There's nobody there to help them. So it's extremely important at all ages because we never know when the crisis will occur. Certainly we think of it as in the older ages because people are aging, people are having diagnoses such as cancer and things like that. But all you have to do is go out on the Beltway and you can see why it needs to be done at every age.
Yeah. So how do you get the word out that this is important to everyone?
I do speaking around the world. I do lots of speeches here in the local area, but I do speak nationally and internationally on the subject of advanced directives and the importance it is for other people and around the world to do. In fact, my European colleagues are very amazed that Americans are willing to talk about this subject at all because they think of us as being death averse. And it's important for people to realize that these crises can occur at any point in time in their lives.
And the peace of mind is so important. One piece of this we haven't talked about is the doctor's role and primary care doctors. When should they be involved in this process so that when, after you have this documentation, you know what you want, you're speaking to the right people about your care?
It's important that when you start working on this, you bring your doctor into the fray because they're going to be able to help you understand what kind of medical conditions you have and what your trajectory is for health care. Many doctors don't want to bring the subject up until you bring it up to them. So it's important for you to bring it up to your primary care provider and ask them about it and let them know that this is important to you. They can help direct you. But remember, many physicians never got trained in this kind of activity. They didn't get trained on how to deal with advanced directives. When I went to nursing school, advanced directives weren't even mentioned.
Right.
So it's important for the individual to bring it up and go through the process.
So this is something at an annual visit or something you might just
Right. And in fact, in 2016, the CMS identified funding to support doctors having the conversation with their patients. And so now they are getting recompensed for the time and effort they put forward to do this. And that has helped increase the amount of conversations that physicians have had, but it's still very small.
That's great. Well, Jane, how do people reach you for more? I know you have many resources available to people. Can you give us your website and your phone number where people can learn more?
Sure. My website is www.markley.com, and my phone number is 703-298-1201. And I asked if you call, please just leave a message, because our staff just may be out taking care of other people and presenting and doing things like that. So please just call and leave a message, and we'll be happy to get back to you.
That's great. And how do people find someone to help them with this advanced directive process?
You can ask your provider, your healthcare provider. Certainly, any institute, hospital, nursing home, facility, those types of things. You can go online to the Conversation Project, which is another activity that's free to the users to understand a little bit more about what advanced care planning is all about.
That's great. This is such an important topic, and it's so important that we spread the word that it's not only for end of life, but it's really for every age group after what, 18, 19, 20?
18.
18 is the time to start making sure you have this documentation in hand.
Absolutely, and it's not a once and done type of occupation. This is something that you should have a dialogue on going forward, and why it's important to have a document, but it changes and you need to re-update it as it goes along.
A living document. That's great.
Absolutely.
Jane, thank you so much for telling us about something that many of us don't know about, and we got to get cracking on the paperwork and process. So thank you for coming in today.
Thank you.
When we come back, we'll close the show today talking about the county senior nutrition program. Stay with us.
The color in my garden keeps the pink in my cheeks. I was very independent and thought I could take care of myself. I fell and I had to have Meals on Wheels. They're my savior. My name is Lola Silvestri. America, let's do lunch.
Drop off a hot meal and say hello. Volunteer by donating your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org.
Here's your chance to save money and help the environment. Bring your reusable bag when you shop and you'll save 5 cents for every store bag you don't need. Retailers in Montgomery County charge 5 cents for the plastic or paper bags they provide. Why? Because plastic bags are the biggest single source of stream and waterway litter, causing pollution and flooding. And every year, Montgomery County spends $3 million on cleanup. So do yourself and the environment a favor. Bring your reusable bag when you shop. You'll fight litter and keep the change.
Get there faster. Ride On has a new Route 129 limited stop service running along US 29 corridor. There are convenient park and ride lots along the route where parking is free, getting cars off the road, reducing congestion, which can decrease commute time. Visit rideonbus.com to stay up to the minute with schedules, updates, or delays. The Route 129 limited stop service runs in both directions along US Route 29, just 15 stops from the Burtonsville Park and Ride to the Paul Sarbanes Silver Spring Transit Center with our regular fare of $2. Ride On. Get there faster.
Welcome back to Seniors Today. With summer just around the corner, now is a great time to think about some fresh tips for healthy eating. Please welcome Melanie Polk, Program Manager and Nutritionist with the county's Senior Nutrition Program. How are you?
Hi,
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming in. Well, it is that beautiful time of year where vegetables and fruits are starting to be seen everywhere. What's something fresh that you can suggest to seniors to start introducing back into their diet?
Well, the nicest thing about this time of year is that we are just about into farmers market season. And so you can go to the farmers market, find out, you can call the county and find out, but there are farmers markets throughout Montgomery County. They're wonderful. They have seasonal, I believe they start in the middle of May and they go right through the end of November. And walking through that farmers market, you can find all kinds of fresh vegetables that you typically wouldn't pick up in the grocery store.
That's true.
And talk to the farmer, find out some information about how they're grown, how to prepare them, what they can be served with. You can get some great information.
It's true. You find some things that you've never seen, like Japanese eggplant or other kinds of varieties that you didn't even know existed. That's a great tip. Tell us a little about the senior nutrition program.
Yeah, we have a wonderful program that focuses on individuals who are over the age of 60 or a spouse of any age. We have two major programs. One is our congregate program. The other is the home delivered program. The congregate program, people get together, they socialize, they take part in physical activities, physical fitness, educational programs, card games, all kinds of programs at the senior centers, the community centers, some residential buildings throughout the county, and also a nutritious meal. So it gets people out of their apartment, it gets them out of their house to meet people, to age in place. The other program is home delivered meals, and that's a program for our county's frailest seniors. These are individuals who cannot prepare meals for themselves. They don't have anybody to prepare the food for them or to go to the grocery store for them. And so there are volunteers throughout the county that will bring meals to them as they need them.
That's great. And what if people are on restricted diets or have some limitations when they come to the centers and eat there? Do they have any special dietary restriction programs?
We don't have specific dietary programs, but typically if somebody has diabetes, for example, they'll know that they can only have 2 of the carbohydrates rather than 3 of the carbohydrates.
I see.
The food is all cooked without salt, is cooked with low fat, and is cooked in such a way that it's heart healthy. So for seniors who are, if they have heart disease or they have high blood pressure, as so many seniors do, for example, diabetes, there are ways of eating a healthy diet.
Great. What about, let's talk about the grocery store, which can be just the black hole for people where they just don't know how to make good choices. Can you talk a little bit about what's important when you're looking at labels and nutrition?
Now, one of the things that I recommend when you go to the grocery store, in most grocery stores, walk the perimeter, because that's where you find your non-processed foods. You'll find your dairy, you'll find your fresh fruits and vegetables, you'll find your meat, fish, poultry that's going through the perimeter of the grocery store. In terms of those food labels, there are some new food labels that are appearing on products now, and most people don't know this, but the most important thing to look at first is the serving size, because the serving size will tell you exactly how much you would eat to get what's listed on the rest of the label. So if you're having a cup of cereal, everything else on that label, it tells you what is in that cup of cereal. But if you're eating 2 cups of cereal, you got to multiply by 2.
Oh, so with the serving size,
is
not, you're not looking at the whole amount. You're looking just at the serving size when you're looking at the label.
Look at your serving size first. Yes, and then look at the amount of sugar. Look at the amount of sodium. We're trying now to cut down on sugar and sodium in our diets. Look and cut down, when possible, on saturated fat. Avoid trans fats. Look at the calories. but it's there, and also the print is larger than it used to be. So it just makes it so much easier for especially for seniors to not have an excuse not to look at the label.
That's true. What are some other tips that you can give us about nutrition in general and things for this, let's say for this spring, to think about?
Well, you know, one thing that I like to tell seniors in general, one thing that we tend to forget is that as we get older, we need fewer calories. Okay, so you know, as we frequently hear, you know, on TV and radio, you know, that it's spring or it's summer and people are watching their weight and because they want to look good in their bathing suit. Whether or not over 60s look good in bathing suits, that's debatable. But I think that the issue is that as we get older, we need fewer calories. If you eat the same number of calories as you did when you're younger, you're going to gain weight. So it means eating more fruits and vegetables, eating more lean meat, fish, and poultry, using low-fat dairy products, and watching your portion size.
Yes, and eating at home, I would imagine.
Well, you know, I know people like to go out and eat. There's certainly nothing wrong with going out and eat. But the one advantage to preparing food at home is that you know exactly what's going in it. If you don't want salt in your food, you don't put salt in your food. So you know that you can use different kinds of herbs and spices rather than seasonings that have a lot of sodium in them.
So you definitely have more control when you eat at home.
You do have more control, yes.
That's great. So what is I think there's a hotline number that you said you can speak to a nutritionist.
Yes,
That's a great opportunity.
And that happens to be a registered dietitian nutritionist who happens to be me.
How wonderful they get to speak to you. So
and I would love to talk. I would love to talk to people on Wednesday mornings between 9 and 11.
Okay.
The number is 240-777-1100. Again, that's 240-777-1100.
Great.
And if I'm not there, leave a message and I'll call you back, and you'll get reliable nutrition information, not have to depend on some of that information that's out there that you're not sure whether it's reliable, whether it's fact, or whether it's fiction.
That's great. So nutrition is at the forefront. Read your labels carefully.
Absolutely.
And thank you so much for coming on today.
You're very welcome.
Well, that's it for this month's Seniors Today. Don't forget that you can access this show and a great deal of information about county services for seniors by going to the Montgomery County website at montgomerycountymd.gov/seniors, or call the Senior Resource Line at 240-777-3000. And as always, thank you for watching Seniors Today.
There's a shelter pet who wants to meet you. Meet one today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org. Adopt.
They said a bottle was just a bottle. That no one would ever notice me. But I knew I could be more. That one day, I would make people smile.